The Galactic Empire spans over billions of planets and billions of systems. Each location has its particular terrain and military needs. I've collected pictures of 41 Stormtrooper uniforms that differ from each other based on their roles, specializations, and natural environments, and I will be ranking them based on how well their roles translate to the physical designs of their armor. This is not a perfectly objective list, as my personal preference does skew this a bit, but for the most part, I do focus on the functionality of the armor. I have 5 pages of commentary about this, so let's get cracking. I'm Sketchpad Awakenings, I love Star Wars, I draw Star Wars, and I have a lot of opinions about Star Wars. This list is not a comprehensive compilation of every Stormtrooper variant out there, only the ones I could quickly gather from Wikipedia. If a Stormtrooper is mislabeled, do not blame me, blame the Wookiee. Also, I did include some extra guys like the Sith Trooper and Death Star Gunner, just because I like their armor. Let's start with this random Stormtrooper, something that we can find in A New Hope. Classic is classic. The classic tier is the design benchmark I will be comparing every Stormtrooper to. It is classic Star Wars Stormtrooper design. Classic. This is the Artillery Trooper. He's got yellow decals, they break that plane really nicely, and I do like the colored pauldron. The pack is a good utility addition to his gear. Above classic is feels like an upgrade. These designs aptly and inventively describe the Stormtrooper's role, and they look cool too. Do not ask me why it does a left justify, I do not know. Cave Trooper. It has a very Scout Trooper look, just with the light on the helmet and on the gun. I don't think it's very imaginative. I mean, like, you're going into a cave, shouldn't you, have more like cavey camouflage? This is the lack of imagination tier, when designs tried to describe the Stormtrooper's job, but did so in a lackluster or cheap way. Clone Trooper Phase 1 armor. Okay, this is going to be a little controversial, but while this is number 1, I like Phase 2 better. And Phase 2, to me, is the benchmark, design-wise. Number 1 is fairly undefined, and the helmet looks squished. We've already hit the bottom of the barrel. This is where my personal pet peeves go. Looks like a knockoff is for the off-brand action figure-like armor and squished helmets, because I have a problem with squished helmets. We're going to be talking a lot about squished helmets. Okay, this is the Death Star Gunner. Not technically a Stormtrooper, I wanted to include them because they're just so iconic. I love their look because the uniform is a cross between an Imperial officer and a trooper. The shiny black helmet has the exaggerated swooping pieces on the jaw and the back of the neck, and they are just so cool. This is beautiful. This is where all my personal favorites and biased picks are gonna go. Death Trooper. The black helmet with the green light would have put him straight into the This Is Beautiful tier, but for the mess of equipment that completely blocks his armor. But the equipment gives us a story about his job, so he feels like an upgrade from the classic look. Dewback Rider. This is a sand trooper on a dewback. This is the dewback right here, this guy. I would consider this a classic look because they are straight from A New Hope, and this rider has an upgrade. The dewback, of course. Elite Trooper. This helmet is a cross between a Clone Trooper and Stormtrooper helmet, which makes it look a little awkward. The armor is charcoaly, but there's nothing special about it. I don't think it lives up to the standard. Flame Trooper. Looks like a spin-off of the classic Snow Trooper, but with some fiery accents and a hulking flamethrower plus pack. I think that's enough to be an upgrade. Heavy Shore Trooper. I just like the name, Heavy Shore Trooper. I also like the tan color and this blast shield on the helmet. He's got a heavy gun, and in fact, I actually think that he's wearing it. He looks a little like the classic Scout Trooper. I've been liking a lot of these designs so far, but we've got a lot more to go. Heavy Snowtrooper. I like the Snowtrooper look, but this is not a Snowtrooper. He is a heavy Snowtrooper, and there's nothing heavy about him. Like, no heavy weapons, no special gauntlets, no special armor, no nothing. Here's our heavy weapon Stormtrooper. This is better. This is an upgraded heavy version of the classic with this nice black pauldron. Here's his heavy weapon right here. Imperial Armored Commando. This is awesome. The Scarlet is really pretty. Look at that. The helmet is very differentiated and in a good way. This is a Boba Fett gauntlet. It's the same. And Boba also borrowed this oversized short-sleeved shirt aesthetic. I just noticed that. Okay, because of the design and the connection to Boba Fett. Imperial Heavy Trooper. A little sad looking. It was literally the only picture. I like the heavy pike, but the helmet looks like middle-aged spread knockoff. And aside from the black armpit stripes, there's nothing really interesting about it. Imperial Shock Trooper. Shock Troopers are supposed to be shatter points or they break front lines. This guy doesn't have any armor or gear to help him with that. There are these red decals, but they're kind of in ugly places. I don't think this is just a lack of imagination. Trench Trooper. Han Solo was working with these guys in Solo: A Star Wars Story. Classic Stormtrooper with a cloak to obscure his form better on the battlefield, and the mud really lets you know that he's been crawling in the trenches. I like it. Incinerator Stormtrooper. Oh man, there's a cockroach. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna let this roll while I go kill a cockroach. Hold on. Oh man. Oh no. They say if you've got one on the floor, you've got 100 in the walls. Beast! Well, I don't want to deal with that. Drop my headphones on the floor. You can stay in there. I've got a video to record. I am literally gonna sit next to a cockroach. I'm not gonna put my feet on the floor, I don't want it walking on me. Okay. Okay. Where were we? Incinerator Stormtrooper. Okay. The red decals are really pretty. And they are also in some pretty cool faces, like here on the helmet. I like the pauldron. I like the flamethrower. All of these elements are very indicative of his job. Is the cockroach still there? I can't see it. Okay. Jump Troopers fly now. I like the colored pauldron with this Imperial decal on it. The jetpack describes his job, and there's a hose coming from his helmet connected to his oxygen tank so he got some, can breathe while he flies. Alright, Magma Trooper. No. They could have done so much better. Okay, so the well-done parts are the extra shielding on the shins. The respiratory aid hose right here, I think that's really cool looking with this light. Similar to the Jump Trooper. Other than that, he just looks like the heavy weapon Stormtrooper. He could have had more distinctive elements like bulky armor for heat protection or a more obvious face visor to protect his eyes from the bright magma. Night Trooper. This is one of Grand Admiral Thrawn's boys, which means I am biased already. His armor is cracked and dented, and has been repaired with different metals and red strips of fabric. While he's just a stormtrooper, he has identified himself as different, a veteran among stormtroopers. Patrol Trooper. This guy has a rip-off-esque helmet. The pants kind of look like Han Solo's pants, just a different color. And the body armor makes him look like a mall cop. I also just put anything that I don't like in this tier. Purge Trooper, specifically from the Anote sector of the Empire. From what I briefly gathered, they are just bully boys. which makes their armor specs and design a bit overkill. So let's look at it. We've got flamethrower, monstrous pauldrons, radio. Also, there is a shield on the back of his helmet to protect him from attacks from behind. I could easily see this guy hunting Jedi, actually, which is what I thought he did before I read the Wikipedia page. You know, flamethrower to burn the traitors and heretics, pauldrons designed to resist lightsaber strikes, radio to call it in. Another purge trooper. This is the Jedi Hunter, who accompanies the Inquisitors on their hunt. Weird helmet, but I do like the maroon color. He's got just like the Anote purge trooper, he's got the same flamethrower, but no extra armor. I guess that's okay, because he's expendable. While his armor is said to be lightsaber resistant, it's not visually translated to the design. While I do like the armor, the pauldron, these coattails, the decals, these straps right here, I can't shake the feeling that it's just kind of all for aesthetics. This is the range trooper. We saw these guys again in Solo, protecting the coaxium cargo aboard the Imperial Conveyex transport. They work in cold frontiers, and their outfit is a dead giveaway. We've got the fur cape, padded sleeves, fur coattails, heavy-duty gloves. Also, these mag boots help them maintain their footing because they work in an even less forgiving environment than other stormtroopers we've covered. Recon Stormtrooper. Things are already not looking great for him, not just because he himself doesn't look that great. This is pretty pixelated. It's also the only picture on Wikipedia. I'm not sure what kind of recon he's supposed to be doing because his armor and gear give away nothing about his job. If I designed a recon character, I would give him something to enhance his mobility, like a jetpack, or an obvious grappling hook, or a radio to improve his communication, or something. Also, his helmet looks squished. I can't abide that. Alright, Clone Trooper Phase 2. I kind of already showed my cards on this one. This is the Revenge of the Sith Clone Trooper armor. It will forever be the clone armor standard, in my opinion. Coastal Defender. If I saw this armor go by in one of the movies, I completely missed it, which is sad because it's so neat. The color is surprisingly indicative of where he works. I can totally imagine him patrolling cliff tops and briny coastal areas. I like that this particular uniform has fabric pants instead of armor pants. It just gives a bit more mobility. I noticed that he's got the same helmet as the Heavy Shore Trooper, which also looks similar to the Death Trooper. I was not expecting this either, but, the more I look at it. Cold Weather Assault Trooper, also called a Snow Trooper. For lack of a better word, this drape in the back is really cool. I really like seeing this in character design. The boots with the straps are phenomenal, and the detachable snow screen is so glossy, and most obviously weighted. This is a classic Stormtrooper look to me, but it's going in a different tier. Alright, Riot Control Stormtrooper. He's got a baton and a riot shield. The gear is very appropriate and descriptive of his job, but the armor is not. It just looks like some random Stormtrooper was walking past and was told by his commander, "Hey you're on riot control, get out there." There's nothing riot gear about his armor, meaning it's just a Stormtrooper with a baton. I think this could have really been a fun one to design with some, reflective stripes or a different colored helmet or like the word riot stenciled on his chest or something. That would have been cool. Rocket Stormtrooper. Similar to the riot control guy, this trooper has special gear but not special armor. The rocket launcher looks amazing though. So yes, there is a red pauldron back here on his right shoulder. So there's a little bit of delineation, but overall there could have been more oomph. For example, like a different helmet to, better block the noise because that launcher's got to be loud. It's Sand Trooper. These guys are classic, and the first to have the pauldrons. We can see these guys in A New Hope. First mounted on dewbacks, and then being Jedi mind-tricked by Obi-Wan. He's got a rifle and this weird inflatable on his shoulder. And a ration pack on his back. We also cannot overlook the grunge because this is part of the design. This is the Scout Trooper. Also a classic. I remember Scout Troopers best for the bike chase on Endor in Return of the Jedi. He has lighter armor, which means literally he's pretty much only got a helmet, a breastplate, pauldrons, and some knee pads. I really like his leather gloves and his leather boots. Being a recon guy, you can see all of his paraphernalia. And that rifle. Sea Trooper. They are hilarious, but they do make the cut. They've got scuba fins, scuba packs and hose, and a bodysuit that we can see is obviously waterproof. Alright, Shadow Trooper. This is basically just a regular Stormtrooper dipped in black ink. But is it not incredibly cool? It's shiny! Sometimes a recolor is enough to be an upgrade. And I really like this Imperial decal on his chest. Here's the Sith Trooper, not strictly a Stormtrooper, but I don't care. Remember what I said about recolors being an upgrade? Yes, this is black and red. I like the crenulations in the armor and the angular armor pieces. I don't really like the split in the chest here. I think it's a little vest-like, but his helmet, it's beautiful. Space Trooper. You probably know the complaint by now. A Stormtrooper with a rebreather pack. I understand that we can't have every specialization look different. That would be way too many variations. But this guy may have benefited from, like a blast visor. Going out in space can be very bright, protect him from the sun and all the, the glare of the explosions. Storm Commando. I think it's funny that this commando has a Scout Trooper helmet, but why not? Also, he's got much heavier armor than the Scout. Look at this. Look at this heavy-duty breastplate. And he's black. Looks like a recolor to me. Here's the Stormtrooper Grenadier. Where did I put the Rocket Stormtrooper? Oh yeah, same problem. Though the launcher is really neat looking, if he had, something simple like, bigger boot, mag boots to help with the recoil, that would have been enough to upgrade him from the classic. Here's the TIE pilot. He's so cute. Look at his giant head. They're called bucket heads by rebel pilots who really shouldn't be talking because their uniforms are just... Aside from the size of the head, I like the decals, the giant life support chest piece. I also appreciate that because he is a pilot, he doesn't need armor. He actually has a black all-fabric uniform. PK Stormtrooper. I don't like this guy. His helmet looks squished. Need I elaborate more? Finally, Volcanic Environment Stormtrooper. Again, I have bias, and there is a lot stacked against me this time. The recolor is black and red. These are Vader's boys, specifically his Mustafar Fortress defenders. But the breathing tubes and the tank are great indicators that they work in a hazardous environment. You never know when Vader's gonna, force choke you or something. Oh, yeah, right. The lava. Yeah, that too. Now, excuse me, I have a cockroach to kill. Ta-da! Here is the final tier list. Drop a comment. Did I nail it, or did I just pluck at some nerves? Thanks for watching, and don't forget, I have a lot of Star Wars content. Bye!